MARSY'S law for Florida was a game changer for victims of crimes. In the past, in my experience, many victims of crimes were often reluctant to come forward and speak out. They were afraid that they would have no ability to participate in the process and that their rights would be subordinated to the accused. Today, thanks to MARSY'S law, which is now enshrined in the Florida Constitution, victims of crimes have just as strong of rights as criminal defendants do. And in particular, victims are guaranteed the right to participate in virtually every phase of the criminal process, from pretrial detention through trial itself, through the sentencing of the defendant. And that sort of participation in the process allows victims to feel more comfortable with speaking up and coming forward, because they know that their rights will be considered and enforced just as vigorously as those of the criminal defendant. The importance of ensuring that crime victims' personally identifiable information is protected is to ensure that these matters remain private and outside of the public spotlight. These are incredibly sensitive matters for victims and their families, and they've already been traumatized enough. The last thing we need is for crime victims to be dragged through the mud in the court of public opinion, whether it's being subjected to media scrutiny or hurtful comments by online trolls. And I don't think you have to look too far to find some examples of this. Most recently, there's been some notorious prosecutions of Harvey Weinstein, for example, and Jeffrey Epstein. And in those particular cases, the public happens to know the names of a lot of those victims. And as a result, those victims themselves and their personal lives become the subject of scrutiny, when really that is backwards. With respect to our judicial system, it has virtually ground to a halt. There have been numerous orders by state and federal courts that have continued all jury trials indefinitely. And that means that criminals cannot be prosecuted through a verdict, and a conviction cannot be achieved through a trial by jury. And that's important because in my experience, many of my clients and other victims that I've encountered throughout my career are looking for closure through the criminal justice system. Whether they achieve it or not is a different question, but certainly having courts available where their cases can be heard and having the opportunity to see the defendant convicted of the crime is one step towards providing the dire closure that these victims need to move forward with their lives.